She stopped the crash?
It was too loud.
Night at Summit Capitol. In the quiet lobby, single mom Emma clutches her badge, her son Noah curled by a humming vending machine. Upstairs, CEO Alexander Carter, navy suit, red tie, battles a rogue AI. Noah stares at the ticker. "They're wrong," he whispers, sketching spirals on a crumpled receipt. HR fires her at dawn. Markets slide at midnight. Will he trust the boy before it's too late? The rain had settled into a fine mist by the time Emma Collins buttoned her thrifted coat and checked the pill case in her pocket. Midnight hummed through the tiny kitchen, a single bulb over the sink, a kettle she never had time to use. Her breath came tight, not dramatic, just the kind of tight that warned her to move slowly. Rent was due. The clinic bill sat under a magnet. She folded it once more and slid it behind the grocery list. On the couch, Noah lay half awake under a fleece throw, listening to the refrigerator click and settle. He was 8, light on his feet, heavy with curiosity. He'd spent the evening coloring on index cards, whispering names for the shapes he saw in numbers. Blue river, red ladder, green canoe. He cupped one card in both hands, careful as if it were warm. A swirl of colored dots that bent into a gentle spiral. He called it the lighthouse. "The sitter canceled," Emma said gently. "You'll have to come with me. Quiet feet, little bird." "I know the rules," Noah said, sitting up. "Headphones, inside voice. Stay where the plant is." "The ficus," she smiled, though her chest pinched. She knelt, carding his hair back. "You keep your lighthouse with you. Pockets, not hands." "Pockets," he echoed, tucking the creased card into his hoodie. He stood, solemn, the way he always was before a new hallway, a new face. "Is the building cold?" "Always," she said. "Big places try to feel bigger." They took the late train from their Queen stop, that metal lullaby the city sings at night. The car was almost empty. A cook in a white jacket slept with his head against the window, his hand still stained with sauce. A nurse scrolled through photos of a toddler, smiling like it hurt. Noah watched the station names roll past and made a small sound, barely a breath. "What color is Queen's Plaza?" Emma asked, easing the weight of her bag on her shoulder. "Yellow," he said, quick, but a quiet yellow, like butter, not like taxis. She nodded. She had learned to nod. His colors had been a worry at first, then a language. She had no map for it, just trust. When the train surfaced near the East River, city lights braided across black water, and Noah pressed his palm to the glass. "See how the numbers on the buildings blink," he said. "They're talking to each other." "They are," she said, because somewhere in those towers were servers and screens and people who never slept, counting everything that could be counted. She wanted to be the kind of mother who only worked days and brought home library books and a full night's quiet. Tonight, she was the mother who worked nights and carried cough drops. The building at Broad and Exchange rose like a ship. Summit Capitol stamped in brass above the revolving doors. Inside, the lobby was a hush of stone and glass, a fountain whispering to itself. A security guard lifted a hand. He was the kind who remembered names. "Evening, Miss Collins," he said, eyes flicking to Noah, then back as if he hadn't seen a thing. "Long one?" "They all are," she said, sliding her badge. "He sits by the plant. Headphones. I'll be on 41. "Cameras are twitchy tonight," he murmured, lowering his voice. "Watch the angles." "I always do," she said, a gratitude she couldn't show catching in her throat. She led Noah to the broad-leafed ficus near the vending machines, where the hum softened the sharp edges of the room. She passed him the small tablet with math games, a juice box, a granola bar with too many sunflower seeds. "If you need me, text the donut," she said. Their code. One emoji, not a sentence, not a panic. "Donut," he said, solemn again, tucking the lighthouse deeper into his pocket. "Back before your second yawn," she promised, kissed his forehead, and stepped into the elevator bank. The mirrored doors offered her a dozen versions of herself. Tired, trying, the doors closed. Floor numbers lit like a countdown. 41 was all quiet carpet and long halls. The night ops room smelled like coffee that had learned its lesson. 2 analysts murmured about a vendor patch. Emma logged in, fingers moving carefully, the way she'd learned to move when her chest tightened. She cross-checked compliance flags and scrubbed stale entries from the data warehouse. She was good at this. Invisible, but good. Her phone buzzed once. Not the donut. A picture. Noah, grinning, the ficus leaves framing his face like a crown. She exhaled. Her lungs eased. She returned to the queue. Downstairs, the fountain kept its secret rhythm. The guard watched the atrium monitors, one eye on the revolving door, one on the elevators. Noah leaned against the marble bench, headphones in. Gaze drifting to the ticker display that ran silent across the far wall, a ribbon of numbers that never slept. He put a hand in his pocket, fingertips brushing the card. The elevator chimed somewhere above, a polite bell in a cathedral of glass. Night opened like a test. Rain ticked the big windows. The city breathed. And far up in the tower, where the good chairs and big screens lived, a storm of numbers began to gather. The hum of the building deepened, as if the walls themselves had drawn in a breath. Emma's screen flashed, not with her usual audit logs, but with a red banner pulsing across the top. Unauthorized presence. Her heart hitched. She pushed her chair back, rising too fast. The pinch in her chest warned her to slow down, but the fear was quicker. 2 security staff strode down the hall, their radios buzzing. One of them stopped at her cubicle. His eyes were sharp, not unkind, but certain. "Ms. Collins, did you bring a child into this facility?" Emma's throat tightened. "My son. He sits quietly in the lobby. He doesn't disturb anyone." "Ma'am, that's a violation of security protocol," the guard said. "We need you to come with us." Her palms went cold. She followed, her badge still clipped at her collarbone like a fragile shield. The elevator ride down was silent, except for the soft crackle of the radio. When the doors opened into the lobby, Noah looked up from his seat by the ficus. His eyes, the color of river glass, widened as he saw the men behind her. He tucked the card deeper into his hoodie pocket. "Mom?" he asked, his voice carrying a tremor. "It's all right, little bird," she said, though her chest felt like a stone. She knelt in front of him. "Stay calm." The supervisor was waiting. A man in his 50s with a thin tie and a thinner patience. His voice cut like glass. "Mrs. Collins." "Ms." she corrected before she could think better. He didn't blink. "Ms. Collins, you've knowingly violated corporate security by bringing an unauthorized minor into a restricted building. Do you understand the seriousness of this?" Her fingers dug into her palm. "He's 8. He sits quietly. I had no other choice tonight. His sitter canceled, and I can't afford—" "Not our problem," the man said, his eyes flicking briefly to Noah. "This is grounds for immediate termination. HR will process your file in the morning." Noah shrank into his hoodie, his knees drawn close. He whispered, barely audible, "Mom, did I do something wrong?" Emma's breath shook. She smoothed his hair back. "No, sweetheart. Not you. Never you." The supervisor turned, dismissive. "Escort her out." The guard who had spoken to her earlier hesitated. His eyes met hers, flickered to Noah, then back. But his duty held. He gestured toward the doors. "Ms. Collins, please." Emma rose, pulling Noah gently to his feet. Her badge felt heavier than her whole bag. She glanced once more at the fountain, the marble, the ticker ribbon that glowed against the far wall. The place she had tried to make into her last chance. As she pushed through the revolving doors into the misted street, Noah's hand found hers. His grip was steady, though his voice was small. "I'm sorry, Mom." "You don't apologize," she whispered, kneeling to hold him close. "You are never the reason. Do you hear me? You are my reason." He nodded, pressing his face against her shoulder. Rain dampened their coats, the city humming indifferent around them. Inside, the supervisor signed a form and muttered into his phone, "Termination effective immediately. Security breach logged." The guard, who had hesitated earlier, watched the mother and son disappear into the mist. He exhaled, wishing rules could bend for people like them. On the 50th floor, a boardroom screen flickered with numbers spiraling into chaos. Analysts shouted over one another. A storm was brewing in the markets, unseen by the mother clutching her son in the rain. But in the lobby, Noah had noticed something before leaving, something he couldn't name yet. The ticker ribbon had pulsed wrong, like a song out of tune. He tucked the lighthouse card tighter in his pocket, whispering, "The puzzle doesn't fit." Emma kissed his damp hair and whispered back, "We'll find a way, little bird. We always do." Above them, the storm grew louder. The storm in the market swelled like a tide against glass. On Summit Capital's top floor, the boardroom's digital wall blazed red with plunging numbers. Traders and analysts hunched over terminals, their voices sharp, urgent. At the head of the table stood Alexander Carter, broad shoulders squared beneath his tailored navy suit, red tie taut against his chest. His deep blue eyes, steady yet tense, swept across the chaos. "What's the source?" he demanded. "Rogue algorithm, sir," one analyst shouted. "It's spreading across exchanges, triggering auto sells. We've already lost $3 billion in valuation." Alexander's jaw flexed. He ran a hand through his dark hair, streaked with gray. His face, carved strong, betrayed nothing but a controlled urgency. He had weathered storms before, financial crashes, hostile takeovers, political games. But this was different. An AI that should have been their strength had turned predator. Isolating it? Failsafes won't hold. Every patch is unraveling. At this pace... Another analyst swallowed. "We're looking at $1 trillion in contagion losses by morning." The boardroom thickened with panic. Phones rang unanswered. Fingers hammered keyboards. Yet, beneath the frantic noise, Alexander felt something colder. Fear threading through his people. Fear he couldn't allow to win. "Listen to me," he said, his voice cutting through the din. Calm, deep, commanding. "This firm doesn't collapse on my watch. Lock down external ports. Run the manual cross-check scripts. Now." His words steadied some, but not enough. The screens still bled red. As the CEO steadied the ship upstairs, Emma walked Noah along the wet streets, their shoes splashing shallow puddles. Her breath came shallow with each step, her chest aching from both the damp and the weight of what had just happened. She had tried to hold every door open for them. Now another had slammed shut. "Mom," Noah whispered, pointing at a newsstand's digital ticker. Numbers scrolled relentlessly, crimson against the rain-dark night. He tugged at her sleeve. "They're wrong. The shapes don't match." Emma frowned. "What do you mean?" He pulled the lighthouse card from his hoodie pocket, running a finger along the spiral. "It's like pieces of a puzzle in the wrong place. They're sick." Emma brushed his damp hair back. "Sweetheart, it's just numbers." But Noah shook his head, more certain than ever. "No, I can hear them, like music when it's out of tune." She bent lower, her voice thick. "We'll figure it out. Right now, we just have to get home." Inside Summit Capital's boardroom, Alexander gripped the back of his chair, staring at the cascade of red. His reflection in the glass looked older, more tired than he admitted. He thought briefly of his own son, long gone with his ex-wife, the boy's childhood slipping through years of silence. The pang in his chest cut sharp. He pushed it down. "Sir," an analyst gasped, "at this rate, exchanges in Tokyo will open in meltdown. We're minutes away from triggering global collapse." Alexander closed his eyes, searching for order in the noise. Somewhere beneath the chaos there had to be a pattern. Down in the lobby, the guard lingered near the fountain, uneasy after escorting Emma out. He glanced once more at the ticker, where numbers blinked in odd, jagged rhythms. For a moment he thought of the boy's eyes, how intently they had studied the ribbon earlier. Outside, Noah tugged again at his mother's hand. His voice was soft, insistent. "They don't fit, Mom. Someone needs to fix the puzzle." Emma hugged him tighter against her side, her heart aching with love and helplessness. She didn't know that upstairs, the man who could change their lives forever was searching for the very pattern her son had already begun to see. And the storm of numbers kept rising. The lobby of Summit Capital glowed like an aquarium at night. Glass, marble, the ticker ribbon flickering crimson. Rain tapped the tall windows. Noah stood just inside the revolving door, staring at the numbers that refused to settle. His small fingers traced patterns in the air, spirals only he could see. Emma crouched, tugging his hood tighter. "Noah, we have to go. They've made their decision." Her voice cracked, worn thin by exhaustion. "But Mom," he whispered, eyes fixed on the screen. "They're wrong. The numbers are sick." She followed his gaze. To her, the red was only loss, abstract and terrifying. To him, it was a language, and he bent, rummaged for a scrap of paper from the vending machine's trash slot, and pulled a stub of pencil from his pocket. Kneeling on the marble floor, he began to sketch. Loops, mirrored shapes, repeating spirals. Emma glanced nervously at the guard, who frowned but didn't stop the boy. She wanted to snatch the paper away, to shield him from more trouble. But something in his focus held her back. Upstairs, Alexander Carter left the boardroom for a moment, his steps quick, his mind burning with unsolved patterns. He needed air, distance, something beyond the frantic analysts. The elevator carried him down, mirrored walls reflecting his taut jaw, his square shoulders. He clenched his fists, searching for calm. When the doors opened into the lobby, the first thing he saw was the boy on the floor, drawing circles. He paused. The sight cut strangely against the chaos upstairs. A child, calm in the storm. "Excuse me," Alexander said, his voice deep but not harsh. Emma stiffened, pulling Noah close. She recognized him instantly. The CEO himself. Tall, broad-shouldered, his navy suit unrumpled despite the hour, his red tie catching the lobby lights, his blue eyes fixed on the scrap paper. "What are you drawing?" he asked. Noah looked up, unafraid. "The puzzle. The numbers are sick." He tapped one spiral. "See, they're supposed to turn like this, but on the screen, they're breaking. That's why it's wrong." Alexander's brows drew together. He knelt beside the boy, his expensive shoes squeaking faintly on the wet marble. "And how do you know that?" Noah pressed a hand to his chest, then to his ear. "Because I can hear them. When they're sick, they make a sound, like when a violin string breaks." Emma flushed. "I'm so sorry, sir. He sees the world differently. Please ignore him. We'll be leaving now." But Alexander didn't move away. He stared at the spirals on the paper, his mind snapping to the corrupted trading loops he'd seen upstairs. The resemblance was uncanny. His chest tightened. Behind him, the guard shifted. "Mr. Carter, this woman was just escorted out for a violation. She—" "Quiet," Alexander said without looking back. His voice carried a weight that froze the room. He studied the boy again. "Show me. Show me what doesn't fit." Noah pointed at the ticker ribbon. "That one and that one. They're upside down." Emma's pulse thundered in her ears. She tried to pull Noah up, but Alexander caught her gaze. His eyes were sharp, searching, not cruel. "What's your name?" "Noah?" the boy whispered. Alexander nodded slowly, standing to his full height. He turned toward the elevators, the decision heavy but clear. "Come with me." Emma blinked. "Sir, what? We were fired. We're not supposed to—" "I said," his voice was calm steel, "come with me." The guard opened his mouth, then closed it. No one defied Alexander Carter in his own building. Emma gripped Noah's hand, torn between fear and awe. The boy clutched his spiral drawing like a lantern in the dark, and as the elevator doors closed behind them, the storm above reached its breaking point. The elevator climbed in silence, its hum deep as a heartbeat. Emma held Noah's hand so tightly his fingers reddened, her mind racing with fear. Fired, humiliated, and now what? She dared not look at the man beside her. Alexander Carter stood tall, shoulders squared, eyes fixed on the glowing floor numbers, a storm behind their blue calm. When the doors opened on the top floor, Emma froze. The boardroom was a battlefield. Screens bled crimson, alarms blinked, analysts shouted. "It's spreading," one cried. "We're minutes from collapse." The chaos swallowed the air. Alexander's voice cut through it. "Quiet." The room stilled, though panic still vibrated beneath the surface. He stepped aside, revealing Emma and Noah. Gasps rippled. A child in the nerve center of Wall Street. "Sir," a senior analyst protested, "this is highly irregular." Alexander raised a hand. "Enough. I want everyone to look at this." He motioned to Noah's scrap paper, spirals drawn in pencil. He held it up beside the corrupted loops glowing on the central screen. "Do you see it?" Murmurs spread. Emma's breath caught. Noah's small voice broke the silence. "They're upside down. The pieces don't fit." A younger analyst leaned closer, eyes darting between paper and monitor. "My God. He's right. The algorithm's mirroring itself. That's why the trades keep looping." Emma shook her head. "He's just a child. He doesn't understand." But Alexander turned to her, his tone gentler now. "Maybe he understands better than all of us." Noah tugged free, stepping toward the glowing console. His small hand hovered over the keyboard. "I can fix it. You just have to flip the colors back." An uproar rose. "This is madness. He'll crash us faster. Protocols forbid this." Alexander silenced them with one look. His voice was calm steel. "We've tried everything. We're out of time. If the boy sees something we don't, he may be our last chance." Emma's chest tightened with terror. "Please, don't put this on him. He's 8. Alexander knelt, eye level with Noah. His expression softened, the weight of a father long estranged flickering in his eyes. "Can you do it?" Noah nodded, serious as stone. "I can hear where it's broken. I just need to move the pieces back." The room held its breath. Emma closed her eyes, whispering, "Please, God." Alexander rose, his voice firm. "Clear the console." The analysts hesitated, then stepped aside. He placed a steady hand on Noah's shoulder. "All right, son, show us." Noah climbed into the chair, his feet dangling. The glow of the monitors bathed his face as he tapped slow, deliberate commands. His childlike logic translated into symmetry on the screen. Mirrors corrected, spirals reformed. The analysts crowded closer, watching as red lines flickered, faltered, then began to shift. For the first time that night, the numbers hesitated. Emma clutched her coat tight, her heart pounding louder than the alarms. And Alexander, standing over them both, whispered so only she could hear, "Sometimes it takes fresh eyes to see the truth." On the screens, chaos began to bend toward order. The boardroom was a storm of held breath. Noah's small fingers tapped, hesitated, then tapped again. The screens shifted, red rivers curling into jagged spirals. An analyst shouted, "They're sinking! Wait! No, they're slipping again!" Noah frowned, his lips moving soundlessly. "It's still sick. The colors are fighting." He pressed a few more keys, rearranging the patterns he saw. The head of cybersecurity snapped, "This is insane! A child cannot—" Alexander's voice cracked like thunder. "Enough! Let him work!" The room went silent again. Emma clutched her bag against her chest, her eyes darting between her son and the man who now shielded him from an army of doubt. She whispered, "Noah, are you sure?" He didn't look away from the glowing console. "Mom, the puzzle's almost fixed." Just a little more. Alexander leaned close to one of his analysts. Cross-check his moves. The man typed furiously, then froze. Sir, he's stabilizing the loops. I don't know how, but the feedback spikes are flattening. On the wall of screens, red flickered, then surged back, stronger, as if the rogue AI was fighting for its life. Alarms blared. We're losing Tokyo in 90 seconds. Noah's hand trembled. It's pushing back, like a monster. His eyes welled, but didn't break. I can still hear it. I just have to keep going. Emma took a step forward, her voice breaking. He's just a boy. Alexander caught her arm, steady but gentle. And right now, he's the only one who sees the path out. His blue eyes met hers, softer now. Trust him, like you always have. She froze, stunned by the weight in his voice. Noah whispered, "The lighthouse." He pulled the card from his hoodie pocket and laid it by the keyboard. His spiral drawing glowed faintly in the monitor's light. I follow this. That's how I know where to go. Emma gasped, remembering the countless nights he had drawn it, colored it, named it. His symbol, his secret map. Then follow it, son, Alexander said, his tone both command and prayer. Noah's hands steadied. He typed with renewed purpose, aligning data streams to the spiral's flow. Numbers flickered, twisted, then began to calm. The analyst stared, disbelief melting into awe. The loops are closing, one whispered. He's actually reversing it. The head of trading, pale with sweat, slammed his fist on the table. We're back in the green. The screens pulsed. Red bars thinned, green lights bloomed across global indexes. The AI's last gasp shuddered, then dissolved into silence. The alarms stopped. Only the sound of shallow breaths filled the room. Noah leaned back, exhausted, his small chest rising and falling. He touched the lighthouse card gently. It's better now. The puzzle fits again. Emma rushed forward, dropping to her knees to hold him. Tears streamed unchecked. Oh, baby, you did it. You really did it. The entire boardroom stood frozen, staring at the boy who had just steadied the markets of the world. Alexander Carter looked at Emma, then at Noah, and spoke quietly, reverently. You just saved us all. The room erupted after a long, stunned silence. Analysts cheered, some collapsing into chairs, others burying their faces in trembling hands. Phones rang again, this time with relieved voices from global exchanges. But Emma stood apart, still kneeling, arms around Noah. Her tears were not of triumph, but of fear. She looked up at Alexander, her voice shaking. Please, don't punish us. He didn't mean to break your rules. I didn't have anywhere else to take him. Alexander's tall frame bent, his navy suit creasing as he crouched beside them. His deep blue eyes, usually unreadable, now carried something warmer. Mrs. Collins? Ms., she whispered automatically, almost ashamed. Ms. Collins, he corrected softly. Don't apologize. Trusting your son saved us all. Rules matter, but so do miracles. Emma blinked, stunned by his tone. Noah leaned his cheek against her shoulder, half asleep, his small hand still clutching the lighthouse card. Behind them, the head of security muttered, Sir, this was a breach of protocol. If the board hears, the board will hear what I tell them. Alexander interrupted, standing to his full height. His voice rolled like steel. Tonight, this firm was saved because a mother brought her son. That's the only record that will exist. Emma's lips parted, but no words came. For years, she had bent beneath other people's judgments. Landlords, bosses, doctors with clipped voices. For the first time, someone in power had not only seen her, but defended her. Gather yourselves, Alexander told the analysts. I'll address the board at dawn. For now, secure the system, and find a blanket for this boy. A young assistant hurried out, returning with a wool throw. Alexander took it himself and draped it over Noah's shoulders. The boy stirred, murmuring, The numbers are quiet now. Yes, Alexander said softly. You did what no one else could. Emma watched him, her heart torn between gratitude and disbelief. This was the man who commanded billions, the man whose face graced financial magazines. And here he was, kneeling to cover her son like a father would. One analyst whispered, "A child saved Wall Street." The words rippled, hushed, but undeniable. Emma flinched, bracing for mockery. But Alexander turned sharply, his voice firm. Not just a child, a gift. And we'd do well to remember gifts come from places we least expect. Silence fell again, filled with the weight of his words. Emma bent, kissing Noah's hair. She whispered, "You're my lighthouse, baby, always guiding me." He smiled faintly in his sleep. Alexander glanced at the spiral drawing on the desk, its pencil line simple yet profound. He slipped it into his breast pocket, as if claiming it as a talisman. Then he turned to Emma. "Tomorrow, I want you both in my office, 10 o'clock. We'll talk about your future here." She stared, stunned. "Our future?" "Yes," he said, his blue eyes steady. "Because this isn't the end of your story at Summit Capital. It's the beginning." Emma's chest ached, but not from illness or fear this time. From something she had not felt in years, hope. Dawn broke pale over the skyline, glass towers catching the first blush of light. Emma smoothed Noah's hair as they rode the elevator to the top floor. He clutched the lighthouse card, edges worn soft from his small fingers. Her stomach tightened. Gratitude for the night before mingled with fear of what awaited them. The doors slid open to Alexander Carter's office. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the city, and the air smelled faintly of leather and coffee. Behind a vast desk stood the CEO himself, navy suit impeccable, red tie straight, but his expression gentler than she'd expected. "Ms. Collins, Noah, come in." His voice filled the room, steady and warm. Emma stepped cautiously inside. "Sir, before you say anything, I know I broke the rules. If you want to bar me from the building, I understand. Just please don't let this hurt Noah." Alexander shook his head, almost smiling. "You think I called you here to punish you?" He gestured to two chairs. "Sit, both of you." They did, Noah swinging his legs nervously. Alexander leaned forward, blue eyes fixed on Emma. "Last night, your son prevented a global catastrophe. But what struck me wasn't only his gift, it was your courage. You risked everything to protect him. That's the kind of loyalty we need here." Emma blinked, stunned. "Sir, I'm not a traitor. I was just an operations clerk." "You were more than that," Alexander replied. He opened a folder on his desk, sliding it toward her. "I want you to lead a new initiative, Director of Community Education. Your job will be to identify and support children like Noah, underprivileged, overlooked, brilliant in ways the world doesn't measure. We'll provide you with staff, resources, and most importantly, health care coverage. For both of you." Emma's breath caught. "Health care?" He nodded. "I know about your condition. You've been carrying that burden alone. Not anymore." Her eyes filled. She covered her mouth, overwhelmed. I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Alexander said simply. Noah tugged her sleeve. "Mom, you can help other kids like me. The ones who hear puzzles." Emma laughed through her tears, pulling him close. She looked back at Alexander. "Yes, of course, yes." Relief softened his features. Then he turned to Noah. "And you, young man, I want to offer you a place in a mentorship program I'm creating. We'll match you with mathematicians, coders, engineers, people who will challenge your gift and help you grow it." Noah's eyes widened. "Like school, but for colors and numbers." "Exactly," Alexander said with a rare smile. "And I'll be checking in personally." Emma's heart swelled. For the first time in years, the road ahead didn't feel like a cliff. It felt like a bridge. A knock came at the door. One of Alexander's aides stepped in, hesitant. "Sir, the press is already asking questions. Word's spreading about, well, the boy." Emma stiffened. Fear shot through her veins. "No, he's just a child. Please don't make him a spectacle." Alexander raised a hand, silencing the aide. His voice was firm. "Noah's story isn't for gossip. It's for change, and we'll control how it's told." He turned back to Emma. "I promise you, I'll protect him." Emma met his gaze, surprised by the sincerity there. For a moment, she saw not just the CEO, but a man carrying his own shadows. Noah whispered, "Mom, it feels like the puzzle is starting again." She kissed his forehead. "Then we'll solve it, together." And for the first time in years, she believed it. The story spread faster than Emma could have imagined. By midweek, headlines whispered across news sites. "Child prevents Wall Street collapse?" Some laughed, dismissing it as rumor. Others spun wild theories. In the break room at Summit Capital, employees huddled, voices low. "A kid saved the market? That's absurd." Another whispered, "I heard Carter himself vouched for him." Skepticism hung in the air, heavy as smoke. Emma walked through the halls with Noah at her side, their new roles still fragile. She felt eyes on her. Curiosity, doubt, even envy. She held Noah's hand tighter, whispering, "Chin up, little bird." We walk forward. Noah, oblivious to the whispers, stared at a monitor on the wall, humming. The colors are calm today. When they entered Alexander's office, he was already on a call, his voice clipped, commanding. "Yes, I know what's being said. No, this isn't a circus act, it's truth. And if you doubt it, watch the data yourself." He ended the call, exhaling sharply. His blue eyes softened when they landed on Emma and Noah. "They doubt him," Emma said quietly. "They doubt everything they can't control," Alexander replied. He gestured for them to sit. "That's why we prove them wrong. Slowly, consistently." Noah swung his legs from the chair, pulling a crayon from his pocket. He sketched loops on a notepad Alexander had slid across the desk. "This one is for today. It's green and steady." Alexander leaned closer, watching the child's concentration. "What does it mean?" "Safe," Noah said simply. Emma smiled faintly. "He's always drawn like this, since he could hold a pencil. I just never knew it could mean something to anyone else." Alexander's gaze lingered on her, thoughtful. "Genius rarely announces itself with fanfare, it hides, waiting for someone to see." A knock interrupted. A young trader rushed in, face pale. "Sir, we've got a sudden spike in micro-trades. Looks like the system's being probed again. Nothing major yet, but unsettling." Alexander stood immediately. "Route it to Noah's console." The trader balked. "Sir, with respect, letting a child—" "Do as I said," Alexander ordered. His voice brooked no argument. Emma's breath caught. She touched Alexander's sleeve. "Please don't push him too far. He's only 8. Alexander met her eyes, steady. "I won't. But trust me, he sees what we can't." Minutes later, Noah sat in the small auxiliary console Alexander had set up for him. His feet barely touched the floor, but his eyes sharpened as streams of numbers danced across the screen. He tapped once, twice, then drew 2 overlapping spirals on the pad. "It's a test, not real yet, like someone knocking on the door." The analysts nearby leaned in. He identified it as a probe, in seconds. Alexander folded his arms, pride glinting in his eyes. "And he's right." Emma placed a hand over her mouth, torn between awe and fear. That afternoon, the skeptics grew quieter. Rumors spread of how the boy had once again spotted what trained experts missed. A story once mocked was turning into something harder to deny. Still, Emma knew not everyone would accept them. She held Noah's hand as they left the building, the city glowing gold in the late sun. "They'll keep testing us," she murmured. Noah smiled softly. Then we keep solving the puzzle. Beside them, Alexander walked in silence, but in his heart a new conviction had taken root. This was no accident. This was destiny unfolding, piece by piece. Late evening settled over the city, lights flickering on one by one like cautious stars. Emma sat on the edge of her modest couch, exhaustion pressing heavy. Noah leaned against her, lighthouse card in hand, tracing the spiral again and again. She brushed his hair back, whispering, "You should be asleep." "But, Mom," he murmured, "what if the numbers wake up again?" Her heart ached. She kissed his forehead. "Then you'll rest and let the grown-ups handle it." A knock startled her. When she opened the door, Alexander Carter stood there, framed by the dim hallway. The CEO himself, in his tailored navy suit, tie loosened now, shadows under his blue eyes. He looked less like the untouchable figure of magazines and more like a man carrying weight. "Forgive the intrusion," he said quietly. "I had to see you both." Emma stepped aside, unsure. "This neighborhood isn't safe for someone like you." He smiled faintly. "I've been in worse places." Noah perked up. "Mr. Carter?" Alexander crouched to his level. "I wanted to thank you again, Noah. You saved more than numbers. You saved people's homes, retirements, futures. Most will never know, but I do." Emma's throat tightened. "We don't need thanks. We need peace, stability." "That's why I'm here," Alexander said. He sat, his large frame somehow gentle in their small living room. "I meant what I promised. A senior role for you, Emma. Health care, a future for Noah." Tears welled in her eyes. "Why us? You could have picked anyone." His gaze softened. "Because I see something in you, in both of you, and because—" He hesitated, then admitted, "I've known what it feels like to lose family, to watch chances slip away. I won't make that mistake again." Emma looked at him, startled by the confession. "You have a son?" He nodded slowly. "He lives with his mother. We're distant. My work built walls I couldn't tear down in time. Every time I look at Noah, I remember what I missed, what I can still make right, maybe not with my own blood, but with the family standing in front of me now." Emma's breath caught. She had never expected such honesty from a man like him. Noah crawled closer, showing him the spiral card. "This is the lighthouse. It always helps me find the safe path." Alexander took the card carefully, as though it were gold. "Then maybe it will guide all of us." He slipped it back into Noah's hand. "Keep it close. It's yours." For the first time, Emma saw not just a CEO, but a man searching for redemption. She whispered, "Thank you, not for the job or the promises. For seeing him, for seeing us." He gave her a warm, confident smile. "Sometimes it takes a storm to remind us what matters most. From here on, you won't weather it alone." Noah yawned, curling into his mother's lap, the card safe in his hand. Emma smoothed his hair, her eyes meeting Alexander's. And in that quiet moment, the air shifted. Not business, not obligation. Something more fragile, more human. Morning light poured into Alexander Carter's skyline office, bouncing off glass and chrome. The city below buzzed with the hum of recovery. Markets steadied, headlines softened. But inside, a new chapter waited. Emma sat across from Alexander, her hands folded in her lap, nerves coiled tight. Noah perched beside her, swinging his legs, eyes wide as he studied the sprawling view. Alexander leaned forward, his red tie catching the light. "Ms. Collins, today makes it official. You'll lead our new community education division. We'll start by building outreach programs, scholarships, mentorships. You'll have a full team." Emma blinked, trying to absorb it. I was an ops clerk. Why me?" "Because you've lived it," he said simply. "You know what it means to fight for opportunity. I trust you to lead this with heart." Her throat closed with emotion. And health care for Noah and me? Effective immediately, Alexander replied. His voice softened. You won't carry that burden alone anymore. Tears shimmered in her eyes. She turned to Noah, brushing his hair back. Did you hear that, little bird? No more late nights at the clinic, worrying if we can afford it. Noah beamed, hugging her side. Alexander wasn't finished. He opened a sleek folder and slid it across the desk. And for Noah, we're establishing the Summit Mentorship Program, a place for gifted children who see the world differently. He'll be the first enrollee. Hand-picked mentors, tailored education. Noah's eyes lit up. Like a school for puzzles? Alexander chuckled. Exactly. A place where your gift won't be questioned. It'll be celebrated. Emma's heart swelled. You don't know what this means to us. Alexander met her gaze, blue eyes steady. I think I do. Just then, his aide stepped in, hesitant. Sir, the press is asking if the rumors are true, that a child saved Wall Street. Emma stiffened. No, he can't be put under that spotlight. He's only 8. Alexander raised a hand, silencing the aide. Tell them this. Summit Capital was saved by innovation and courage. Leave the details alone. His eyes never left Emma's. I won't let them exploit him. Relief washed over her, gratitude deeper than words. As the aide slipped out, Alexander stood, walking to the wide window. The city stretched beneath them, endless, fragile. He turned back, his voice softer. This firm has always been about numbers, but last night reminded me, numbers don't matter without people, without family. Emma's breath caught. Family. A word she hadn't expected to hear from him. Noah hopped down from his chair, padding over to the window. He pressed his lighthouse card against the glass, the spiral glowing faintly in the sun. Look, Mom. It's pointing the way. Emma stood beside him, her hand resting lightly on his shoulder. For the first time, she felt the horizon opening instead of closing. Alexander joined them, tall and steady, his presence both commanding and strangely protective. He looked at them both and said quietly, This is just the beginning. And deep inside, Emma believed him. By the end of the week, whispers had turned into headlines. A child saved Wall Street? Some journalists scoffed, others leaned into the myth. In trading pits and coffee shops, debates flared. At Summit Capital, skepticism hung thick. Emma felt it in the sidelong glances, the forced smiles. She held her head high, but inside, fear gnawed. Would the world ever believe them? One afternoon, she overheard 2 analysts in the break room. Impossible. PR stunt, that's all. Then explain why Carter himself vouched for them. Carter's playing some long game. Emma bit her lip, swallowing the sting. She wasn't used to this, being the subject of whispers, her son doubted by strangers. That evening, Alexander called her into his office. He stood by the window, skyline bathed in fading light. His shoulders were tense, but his eyes softened when he turned. They're questioning you. Him. Emma's voice trembled. They think I made it up, that I dragged my son into this for attention. No, Alexander said firmly, stepping closer. You don't defend yourself to them. You let your actions speak. That's how doubt dies. As if on cue, a knock rattled the door. A junior trader hurried in, tablet shaking in his hands. Sir, we've detected anomalies in the London Exchange. Not critical yet, but— Bring it here, Alexander ordered. He set the device on his desk. Rows of numbers scrolled, subtle distortions rippling through them. Emma's pulse quickened. Noah, can you see it? The boy climbed into the chair, studying the screen. His eyes narrowed, fingers tracing invisible patterns. It's like the puzzle's whispering this time. Small, but it's still sick. The trader frowned. That's exactly what our diagnostics flagged. He saw it instantly. Emma looked around, daring anyone to doubt now. Silence filled the room, heavy but different, respect edging into awe. Alexander placed a steady hand on Noah's shoulder. Gentlemen, remember this moment. Genius doesn't always wear a suit and tie. The trader flushed, nodding quickly before slipping out. Emma exhaled, relief flooding her. She turned to Alexander. How can you be so certain? About him? About us? He met her gaze, voice low. Because I know what it feels like to be overlooked until it's almost too late. I won't let that happen to him, or to you. Her breath caught, a warmth stirring in her chest she hadn't expected. Later, as they walked out together, Noah clutched her hand. Mom, they don't laugh anymore. They listened. She kissed his hair, whispering, they'll listen more tomorrow, one step at a time. And, for the first time since the storm began, Emma believed the tide was turning. The press conference was small at first, just a handful of reporters, cameras humming under the fluorescent lights. Alexander Carter stood at the podium, navy suit flawless, red tie sharp, but his voice carried something more than authority. We built this firm on numbers, he began, his deep blue eyes sweeping the room. But last week reminded us that numbers alone aren't enough. Genius can come from anywhere. Our job is to see it, nurture it, and protect it. Emma watched from the wings, Noah's hand tucked firmly in hers. Her heart pounded, afraid he might reveal too much. But Alexander never mentioned Noah by name. Instead, he announced a bold new vision. The Summit Foundation will support underprivileged children with unique talents, whether in math, art, or music. Children who see the world differently. We will fund schools, scholarships, and mentorships. Because brilliance doesn't belong only to the privileged. It belongs to all. Reporters erupted with questions. Is this connected to the rumors of a child saving Summit Capital? Are you confirming those stories? Alexander smiled faintly, his voice calm. What I'm confirming is this. Sometimes the smallest voices teach us the biggest lessons, and I intend to make sure those voices are heard. The cameras flashed. Emma squeezed Noah's hand, tears pricking her eyes. For once, the narrative wasn't about scandal or doubt. It was about hope. Afterward, in the quiet of his office, Alexander joined them. He pulled the Spiral Lighthouse card from his breast pocket, smoothing its worn edges. This inspired me, he admitted, setting it gently on the desk. A child's drawing, reminding us to find the path when the world is dark. Emma's voice shook. You could have made this about yourself. Instead, you made it about them, the children. He met her gaze, something unspoken flickering between them. I've spent years chasing numbers, Emma, but when I saw your son at that console, I realized I've been blind. This isn't just about markets, it's about legacy. Noah climbed onto the chair, pointing at the card. The lighthouse always shows the way home. Emma brushed his hair back, her chest swelling. She whispered, and maybe, just maybe, we've found ours. Alexander's expression softened, almost vulnerable. For the first time, Emma saw not only the CEO, but the man searching for redemption, for connection. The foundation was announced to the world the next day, praised and debated. But one thing was clear. Something had shifted in the heart of Summit Capital, and in the man who led it. 1 year later, the city skyline glimmered in late afternoon sunlight, gold reflecting on glass towers. Emma walked through Summit Capital's lobby. Her title now, Director of Community Education, engraved discreetly on her office door. Noah walked beside her, backpack slung over one shoulder, eyes bright and alive with curiosity. Alexander Carter stood at the entrance to the charity gala they were attending that evening, watching them approach. His navy suit and red tie were immaculate, but there was an ease in his posture, a quiet pride that had softened the sharp edges of the CEO persona. Blue eyes scanned Emma and Noah, reflecting not just professional admiration but something deeper, gratitude, respect, and connection. Inside, the grand hall buzzed with donors and philanthropists. Children from the Summit Foundation moved among the crowd, sharing projects, inventions, and drawings. Noah tugged at Emma's sleeve, whispering, Look, Mom, all the kids, they're like me. She smiled, brushing his hair back. Yes, they are. And they'll have everything they need to shine, thanks to you. Alexander approached, greeting them with a warmth that belied his usual commanding presence. Emma, Noah, he said, inclining his head, it's incredible to see what's been accomplished. What began as a storm has turned into opportunity for so many. Noah handed him a drawing of a spiral lighthouse, careful and precise. For you, sir. It helped guide me last year. Alexander's lips curved into a genuine smile. Then it's guiding us all. Thank you, Noah. He knelt slightly to meet the boy's eyes. You've changed lives. Emma felt a swell of emotion, the years of struggle, the health scares, the late-night shifts, the fear of loss, all threading into this single, luminous moment. She whispered to Alexander, none of this would have been possible without your trust, without you seeing him when no one else would. He nodded, voice low, honest. And I've seen more than I expected. Family, courage, brilliance, you both taught me that sometimes the smallest voices carry the greatest power. Noah hugged his mother tightly. Emma hugged him back, then glanced at Alexander. For the first time, the three of them stood together, not CEO, employee, or child, but as a family forged through trials, trust, and shared purpose. The gala lights shimmered, casting soft golden patterns across the polished floor. Children laughed, donors mingled, and the Foundation's first anniversary was alive with hope and promise. Emma breathed deeply, the weight of the past year lifting. Noah leaned on her shoulder, whispering, Mom, we did it. We really did it. She kissed his forehead. Yes, baby, we did, and this is just the beginning. Alexander stood beside them, looking out over the crowd, the city beyond, and the lives they had touched. What had begun as a firing, a mistake, a moment of despair, had transformed into a movement of opportunity, trust, and legacy. Together, they faced the future, stronger, hopeful, and bound by the extraordinary bonds forged through courage, vision, and love. The lighthouse card, folded neatly in Noah's pocket, gleamed faintly in the light, a symbol of guidance, perseverance, and the family they had built against all odds. The end.